New data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics shows new home dwellings approvals dropped by more than 6% in October. That's despite the huge national focus on getting more homes built to ease the housing crisis. Matthew Pollock is the Executive Director of the New South Wales Master Builders Association. He says there's an increasing gap between housing policy ambition and reality.
Well, look, it shows that the industry is struggling to get houses out of the ground. So it was a 6.4% drop in October and about a 1.2% drop over the year to October.
Yeah. And so how does this reflect on the government's target of getting 1.2 million homes built by 2030? Where does that stand now?
Well, look, it shows there's a growing gap between policy ambition and reality. Last year, the first year of the Housing Accord target, we fell about 60,000 short. And with the trend in the building approvals numbers, it looks like we're likely to fall short again this year.
Yeah. So this really is a key policy focus for Anthony Albanese. It's one of his key promises. What needs to happen on the policy front to get this moving?
Well, look, it's all about supply. So, and for the industry, that means boosting capacity in the supply chain. It's about having the boots on the ground, but it's also having the settings in the industry to get these projects out of the ground. So one of the most concerning things about the data that was released yesterday is that the biggest fall was in high density or apartment construction, which fell 12% over the month. The industry, it's hard to get those projects out of the ground at the moment. They're just not stacking up for the builders.
And so what needs to happen to get those settings right?
Well, look, I think it's about making sure that we've got capacity in the supply chain. So we need greater investment in skills and workers. We need the boots on the ground to actually build those homes.
But can that happen quickly, suddenly getting tradies where we haven't got enough at the moment?
Well, look, I think it can, and the government is making some efforts. We do have to give them some credit where it is due. Recently announcing that they will extend the incentives for apprentices in construction trades, and that's very welcomed. But also it's about getting more workers into the industry through attraction, through migration, and also through different parts of the economy that may not traditionally have been a source for construction workers.
And what about red tape in the process?
Look, absolutely, and it's still taking too long to get projects out of the ground, and particularly for those high density projects. Here in New South Wales, the average time it takes to get an apartment project from planning to completion is over 3 years. So the New South Wales government has introduced some recent planning reforms which are very welcomed and were supported by industry, but they'll take some time as well to show up in the completions data.
Are you surprised that with all we've heard about this over the past 4 years or so, that more progress isn't being made already?
Well, look, I think the challenge is that the underlying dynamics in the industry are causing the downturn in numbers. So we don't have a shortage of demand. Prices are rising. People want to buy houses. It's a good investment, but it's about the feasibility of those projects. We've had price increases into the construction industry of over 40% since 2019. Borrowing costs are now up, insurance costs are now up, and that just challenges the feasibility of those projects.
So can you see any real chance of the government getting to this key target of 1.2 million homes by 2030?
Well, look, in order to reach those targets from here, we would have to hit a record number of houses each year for the next 4 years, over 250,000. Now, the most number of houses we've built in Australia in a given year was 234,000 in 2016. So that would be a record run. And really what we'd want to see is the approvals numbers starting to really increase now. We're over 18 months into the Housing Accord target, and those approvals numbers growing quickly and then turning quickly into commencements. That's something that we're not currently seeing.
Yeah, well, we'll continue to watch this with interest. Okay, Matthew Pollock, thanks so much for coming in.